Welcome to our deep dive into the gold market. We have some really fascinating analysis today.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting stuff.
We are going to break it all down and, see what it could mean for you.
Exactly.
And we're really going to try to explore kind of, the forces at play here.
Yeah,
The things that could really, push the price of gold up or down.
for sure.
Think global politics, decisions made by powerful central banks.
Right.
And even, believe it or not, wedding bells ringing in India.
It's all connected.
Yeah, it's all connected. It's
Yeah.
fascinating. So get ready because we're about to uncover some intriguing, insights about this precious metal.
We'll see what the future might hold.
Now, you often hear gold referred to as a safe haven.
Yeah.
What does that actually mean?
Well, it basically means that when things are a little shaky in the world,
Right.
when things feel uncertain, people tend to turn to gold as a way to, protect their money. They see it as a safe bet, so to speak. And I think we can all agree that there's a lot of uncertainty in the world right now. The war between Russia and Ukraine, for one,
Oh, absolutely.
and the ongoing conflicts in the Middle East.
Yeah.
These events, they create a lot of nervousness in the market.
Right.
Investors get a little jittery, and what happens? They turn to gold.
Yeah. Makes sense. Makes sense.
Oh,
Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit and talk about the Federal Reserve.
sure.
Now, they are the ones who make decisions about interest rates.
Right.
And those decisions can be really important for the price of gold, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The Federal Reserve, the Fed, as it's often called,
Right.
they've been raising interest rates for a while now. And the reason they're doing this is to try to fight inflation.
Right.
Basically, when prices are going up too quickly, they try to cool things down a little bit.
Okay.
And so higher interest rates mean it costs more to borrow money.
Okay.
And that can slow down the economy and hopefully bring prices down. But the thing is, it can also make gold less attractive to investors.
Okay, interesting. So I know that recently inflation in the U.S. dropped to 3.2%.
Yeah.
So does that mean that the Fed might be thinking about changing its strategy?
It's definitely possible. I mean, the Fed's always looking for clues. They want to see signs that inflation is actually cooling down, like it seems to be.
Right.
And I think the next big clue we're all going to get is the release of the Consumer Price Index data.
The CPI.
Exactly, yeah. That data basically tells us, how much prices have changed.
Okay.
If that CPI data shows that inflation is continuing to fall, well, then the Fed might decide, hey, maybe we don't need to be so aggressive with raising interest rates.
Okay, so let's talk about that. What would happen if the Fed decides to be, less aggressive? Some people might say more dovish.
Right. Well, I think the main thing to think about is the impact on the U.S. dollar and gold.
Okay.
Because those two, they often move in opposite directions. So if the Fed becomes more dovish, we could see the dollar weaken. And if that happens, it could very well push the price of gold higher.
I see. So the U.S. dollar index, which basically tracks how the dollar is doing against other currencies, that recently reached 104.5.
Yeah.
Could that put some downward pressure on gold, with the dollar being strong?
It's certainly possible, but we also have to remember that the Fed can change things pretty quickly.
Right.
If they start to signal a change in their approach, well, the dollar could weaken pretty fast, and that would be good news for gold.
So it sounds like the Fed's decisions are going to be a major factor to watch. Now, let's talk about demand for gold from other parts of the world. I understand that India and China play a pretty big role in the gold market.
Absolutely. They're huge players.
So what's going on there?
Well, India, for example, has a big wedding season coming up. And gold jewelry, well, it's a traditional gift in India for weddings.
Oh, right.
So that's going to create a surge in demand, which could push prices up.
Okay, what about China?
Well, China's government is doing a lot to stimulate their economy. They're trying to boost growth and spending.
Right.
And historically, when China's economy grows, we tend to see more demand for gold.
Oh, yeah.
Not just for industrial use, but also for people who want to invest in gold.
So it sounds like we've got some powerful forces at play here.
Yeah.
We've got global uncertainty, the Fed's decisions, and demand from India and China.
Right.
A lot to consider. Now, let's turn our attention to the technical analysis of gold. Can you tell us a little bit about XAUUSD, which I know is the ticker symbol for gold?
Sure. Technical analysis, it's basically about using charts and patterns to understand how the price might move.
Right.
And one of the first things we look at are support and resistance levels. Think of it like a floor and a ceiling.
Okay.
The floor, that's the support level. It's where the price has stopped and bounced back in the past.
Right.
The ceiling, the resistance level, that's where the price has stalled out before.
Okay, so our analysis mentions specific figures like, $1,980, $1,950.
Yeah.
$2,050, $2,080. Can you explain what those numbers mean for our listener?
Yeah, those are some of the key support and resistance levels that we're watching right now.
Okay.
So, if the price starts to fall, it could find some support around $1,980 or even $1,950.
Right.
On the other hand, if it rises, it might hit resistance around $2,050 or $2,080.
Okay, so these are basically potential turning points.
Exactly. They're the levels to watch.
All right. Now, what about these things called technical indicators?
Right.
I know our analysis mentions things like MACD, RSI, and moving averages.
Yeah.
What do those tell us?
Well, those indicators give us more clues about the price momentum and trends. They can actually help us spot potential buy or sell signals.
Okay.
So, for example, the MACD, it's hinting at a possible short-term correction.
A correction, so that means...
Yeah, basically it means the price might dip a little bit before
Yeah.
continuing its upward trend.
Right.
And then there's the RSI, which is showing us neutral to bullish momentum.
So more likely to go up than down.
Exactly. And finally, we see that gold is currently trading above its 50-day moving average,
Okay.
which is a good sign. It suggests that the overall trend is up.
So it sounds like those indicators are painting a bit of a mixed picture,
It's true.
but maybe with a slightly positive lean.
I think that's a fair assessment, yeah. It's important to look at all the signals together to get the full picture.
Absolutely. Now, based on all of this technical analysis, are there any scenarios that seem particularly likely to play out?
Well, we always like to consider three potential scenarios.
Okay.
We've got the bullish scenario, we've got
Yeah.
the bearish scenario, and then, of course, the neutral scenario.
Okay, let's start with the bullish one. What would that look like?
In the bullish scenario, we'd see gold break above that $2,050 resistance level that we talked about earlier.
Okay.
And we'd want to see it happen with strong trading volume.
Okay.
That would be a really bullish signal. It could lead to a rally toward $2,080.
Okay, so what about the opposite? What about the bearish scenario?
Well, if gold drops below the $1,980 support level, that would be a warning sign.
Okay.
We could see a correction, maybe down towards $1,950.
Okay, and then I guess there's the neutral scenario. What would that involve?
Well, the neutral scenario basically means that gold kind of trades sideways.
Okay.
Stays between those key support and resistance levels that we talked about, $1,980 and $2,050. This could happen if there's no major news or events that really shake things up.
All right, so that gives us a good overview of the technical side of things.
Yeah.
But let's shift gears again and talk about some upcoming events that could really have a big impact on gold prices.
Sure.
What should our listener be paying attention to in the coming days and weeks?
Well, the first thing on the radar is the U.S. non-farm payrolls report, the NFP. It comes out this week.
Okay.
This report basically tells us how many jobs were added to the U.S. economy.
Okay.
And if it's a strong report, that could strengthen the dollar, which would likely put some pressure on gold.
Okay, so what else is coming up?
Well, Fed Chair Jerome Powell is scheduled to give a speech this week. His words are going to be carefully analyzed for any clues about where the Fed is headed with interest rates.
Right.
If he sounds dovish, like he's open to slowing down or even pausing rate hikes, that could be very good news for gold.
Got it.
Yeah.
And I see that we also have Eurozone inflation data coming out soon.
Yes, that's right. Higher inflation in the Eurozone, that could actually limit the dollar's strength, which indirectly would be supportive for gold.
So it sounds like it's going to be a busy week. Potentially a lot of movement in the gold market.
Definitely a week to watch.
All right. Well, let's move on to the weekly outlook for gold.
Sure.
What's the overall sentiment and